Hey guys, I'm Shirshadai, bringing in yet another not Protoss replay analysis, this one for Randych. So we're gonna jump straight in and look at, he asked for some improvements on what he could have done better. Now this is a game that he won, so there's not as much to learn from those. But just a couple things to help him tighten up his build order. First thing is if you rally the CC to where you want to build your depot starts right when you have 100 minerals, right now, instead of starting late, because what ends up happening is your depot doesn't actually start until nearly 15 supply, so you're going to hit a supply block here and not be able to build anything. Your barracks is going to be delayed, your SCV production is delayed here for a good like 6 or 7 seconds, which not the worst thing, but not ideal either. So you start your barracks, start your gas, so very good. You go into 211, which is excellent. Your SCV production is pretty good. Instantly saturating gas, which is excellent. This guy's annoying here, so you just grab an SCV and chase him away. You go and build your CC. Natural base, very realistic timing. Second barrack starts up here, Reaper opener. Your build, honestly, is really good. Very few things you can do to tighten it up. So, factory comes down. Now, this thing, a very important aspect of building as Terran is as soon as the orbital command finishes, which you're doing right now, you come and you start building SCVs one at a time, building depots one at a time with this SCV. The thing is, you need to constantly produce these SCVs these depots one at a time with your same SCV, because if you don't, you're actually going to get supply blocked, which you do. Otherwise, your build is pretty good. Building SCVs. So see, here's another depot should have started immediately, which looks weird because you've got a good bit of open supply, but the way that Terran production works is you're going to have more structures very shortly producing supply, and you're going to hit that supply cap very quickly. So you fill off on your SCV production there just a little bit. You're coming in now to build double depots because you've hit that supply cap. Your 2 medevacs coming out. So because of that supply cap, you're actually going to be a little bit late moving out, but to be completely honest, it's not terrible. So you load up and you move out 5:15, which is about 20 seconds later than Masters level Terrans, about 30 seconds later than the pro levels. Like Innovation moves out at 4:45 or something ridiculously fast like that. Your follow-up behind this is you're going into 2 more barracks. I would like to see you start a 3rd command center as well, because you notice you've got quite a bit of money here, which does come down a little bit to the supply cap you hit at 54. You weren't able to build for a little while, so by getting a 3rd base started here, and possibly like getting a 3rd barracks, because you generally want to build barracks 3 at a time to get to the count of 5 and then to the count of 8, depending on what you're going for compositionally. Like getting a 2nd factory, you'd stay on 5 barracks, but you're only going to have 4, so you're going to be constrained in your production. So as you move out with this, I'd like to see you start, like, you have a 3rd barracks, and because you've got all this money, you go ahead and you start a 3rd CC, and you throw down your double eBay, rather, whatever it is you're trying to get to. Start another pair of medevacs, and just continue macroing in general. Now, one thing I'm going to criticize real quick, and we're going to slow this down to ×2 so you can see the numbers here. You're dropping in the main base after flying over... Oh, you can't actually see that. Okay, so I can't criticize that part. That's good. So you unload here. You completely unload. The complete unload finishes at 5:48. So let's go see what you're looking at real quick. You're building your depots. Need to be building SCVs. You have a bunch of army supply, because so here's what I'm pointing out is you've been on the ground unloaded for like 8 seconds in vision and not doing anything with it, and behind it you weren't really doing a lot back at home. So what I'd really like to see is, and standing around is not the biggest deal, but you need to be doing things. Like you need to be macroing, queue a bunch of SCVs, queue a bunch of production, because you're going to be microing this for quite a while, because the point of this build is to go and be aggressive. So you need to get your macro cycle set up on the other side so that you're not just losing a bunch of production. So like you see, you're almost supply blocked. Your money is pretty good, so you need to get a macro cycle. You're making 3 Marines which is all you really can make because these aren't going to have add-ons for a while because you're actually about to engage. Your engineering bays are just finishing up. Your 3rd CC is not actually started yet. But you're going to spend a good bit of time here looking at this fight here.
Armed and ready.
And you're going to get some tremendous amounts of damage done here. You're just basically like attacking, which is great. But if you look at the production tab, it's getting smaller and smaller. And at this point, you're not actually queuing production. Like, you did just do that, so that's great. This attack probably would have killed him if not for the morphing banelings that you didn't see with the kings. But the thing is, like, you just realized, oh, stink, I gotta go macro. You're loading up a little bit, you're gonna go across the map and try to reinforce. You're not producing a lot, you're sitting at 40 SCVs. Your 3rd CC still hasn't started, you're building tanks. You're basically doing a lot of damage on the other side of the map. If you just look at the resources lost, it's extreme. But if he was macroing better, he could actually counterattack, and you don't have a lot of army here right now. You just don't have nearly as much as you could have. So, 3rd CC is still not started. You actually have to double supply drop because you weren't building depots. And so you just see, like, your macro kind of fell apart. You've got these extra barracks that are done. These 2 SCVs are still idle. Still no 3rd CC. You're actually going to go build your 3rd CC on location. But if you remember, you moved out with your drop at 5 minutes and 15 seconds. And you had the money for that 3rd base. You could have had it in your main base and had it be an orbital by the time you actually started it about 2.5 minutes later. So of course we are nitpicking, but the literal request was, what could I have done better here? So what we have so far as what to do better is get your supplies get your depots set to build. Try to spend all of your money before you actually attack, because while you're microing your marines, you're not going to have as much time to go back and look at your bases, to go back and do things. So like, set up a couple depots to build, set your QSCVs, like queue 3 or 4 SCVs in each command center, queue a bunch of marines. Just try to spend all of your money as you start your attack, because as soon as you get done with your attack, you're going to realize, okay, I've been doing nothing but controlling my marines for the last 30 or so seconds, and I have 1,000 minerals, or I was controlling all my army, and I just finished producing a whole bunch of stuff, and now I have like 500 minerals, but I have 20 supply of army in my natural, which is 2 medevacs full. So it comes down to what you're prioritizing. But every time you're going to take a fight, set up a production cycle. Go straight through a macro cycle. Drop your mules if you need to. Build a few depots. Hold down that marine key. Build a couple tanks, medevacs, whatever. Just build units and then go attack and micro. And obviously, if you're microing, you can't macro, so you are not going to be able to just build stuff without queuing necessarily. So just queue a whole bunch of stuff and go. Now you actually do some cute stuff with the Liberators here. So you're going to go and attack in multiple places at a time with this Liberator. But again, we're going to look real quick. This barracks is not producing, this barracks is not producing. None of these barracks are producing as you're currently getting depots and everything. You're messing with this micro here, but you're not building out of these barracks. And honestly, what you're doing is pretty cute, but macro, definitely the most important thing you can ever do, even as a Terran player. You've got to get your macro down. It's like you're doing this stuff, and it looks pretty good, but you're just, like, you started, this CC has been done for a good 30 seconds, and you're just starting the orbital. You have 1 marine here, you have 2 marines in each place. Just queue up extra marines. Like right now you don't have the money because you've built a whole bunch of stuff, but you've got energy for 2 meals here. You could drop it down at this 3rd CC location. You're at 55 workers, which is not optimal, but it's getting better. And you've started mech weapons as well, which is cool.
All hands to battle stations. Liberation is at hand.
Mineral field upgrade complete.
But as you're doing this stuff, and you notice the production tab just keeps getting empty, and you have to go back to your barracks after you've done a whole bunch of stuff and queue up 7 more marines. If you are consistently producing stuff, you could be maxed out right now instead of at 150 supply because you're just not building things.
Ready for dust
You
off.
see your Marines drop down to
Mineral
0
field
production, then it
completed.
sort of jump back up again, and you're not building depots, and you haven't started 2-2, and there's just a few things you're missing. But it all comes down to practice being comfortable with it. Like your splits here are pretty good.
Upgrade.
You're about to get salts, which is hilarious because you actually played really well. New Bioterrans again doing noob stuffs. Honestly, it was pretty high level, to be honest. I'm not even gonna lie. But there are a few things you can do better, which is just basically spending your money, getting your macro cycle down, queuing up units before you attack, and every time you get ready to attack, you glance back at your base and say, okay, where is my energy level on my CC so I can scan creep if I need to? I need to make sure my upgrades are going. I need to make sure I'm producing. I need to make sure that I'm not going to get supply blocked. I need to make sure that I have additional barracks coming down, barracks, starport, second factory, whatever it needs to be, to continue spending your money. Because if you look at the end of this game, you have quite the bank, my friend. And you're about to be supply blocked, so you can't even build anything else. So, got to get those depots, got to get these engineering bays, getting your 2-2, saturate your gases to allow for your starport or extra factory production as needed. Your worker count ended up pretty good. 66 is officially the ideal number for a Terran player to have, which is 3-base saturation, because as you get your planetary down, you can pull SCVs out of your main base and send them to your planetary. Like, you can actually make more than 66 SCVs, but realistically, it's not a number that you actually need. So, hopefully you did get something out of this. It just comes down to optimizing, comes down to spending your money before you start a fight, trying to spend your bank, building additional production structures, building your third CC as you move out when you have the money for it like you did, getting your SCVs, consistently building that one depot at a time until your second and your third and fourth and fifth barracks produce, like, because you started on 2-1-1. You're only producing on 3 structures at a time, so 1 at a time here is fine. But as soon as you get your other barracks done, and you start the add-ons for those, that's when you start building your depots 2 at a time. And you want to have the same 2 SCVs building these depots 2 at a time for the entire match until you are 200 available supply. That is what Maynard's focus goal is about when he says consistently build depots. He's looking to keep building depots 2 at a time until that says of 200 supply. So, again, hope this does help, and good luck, have fun, my friend.